discover that one seasoned broadcaster refuses to bow down to royal entitlement. It only took one comment about the host's integrity for everything to explode in the most spectacular fashion ever witnessed on daytime television. This is the story of how Piers Morgan stood his ground against Prince Harry in what became the most explosive interview in talk show history. And trust me, you won't believe how this actually went down. The studio lights were blazing hot that afternoon. Piers Morgan sat in his chair, calm and collected, ready to have what he thought would be a civil conversation. Prince Harry walked onto the set with an air of superiority that you could feel from the cheap seats. The audience clapped politely, but there was already tension in the room. You could sense it. Something was about to go very, very wrong. Piers started off friendly enough. "Welcome to the show, Harry. Thanks for joining us today." Harry barely looked at him. He settled into his chair like he was doing Piers the biggest favor in the world. "Let's just get this over with," Harry muttered, already showing his true colors. Piers raised an eyebrow, but kept his composure. Professional as always. "Well, I appreciate you taking the time. I know you've been wanting to share your side of things." "My side?" Harry leaned forward, his voice dripping with condescension. "Piers, you wouldn't know the truth if it smacked you in the face. But sure, let's pretend this is about sharing sides." The audience gasped. You could hear it ripple through the studio. This was only 30 seconds in, and already Harry was throwing punches. But Piers, being the professional that he is, didn't take the bait. Not yet. "That's quite an opening," Piers said calmly. "I'm here to have a conversation, Harry. A real one. If you're not interested in that, we can end this right now." Harry laughed. Actually, laughed. Like the whole thing was beneath him. "Oh, you want a real conversation? From you? The man who built his career on tearing people down? That's rich." Piers sat back, his jaw tight. "I've built my career on asking tough questions and holding people accountable. Something you seem to have a problem with." "Accountable?" Harry's voice rose. "You mean like when you hounded my family for years? When you printed lies and made up stories just to sell papers and get ratings? That kind of accountability?" The tension was thick now. You could cut it with a knife. Piers leaned forward, looking Harry dead in the eye. "Everything I've ever reported has been factual. If you have a problem with the truth, that's on you, not me." "Factual?" Harry was getting louder now. "You call making up sources factual? You call invading privacy factual? You're a tabloid hack, Piers. Always have been. Always will be." Piers's face went red, but he held it together. "I'm a journalist. I report the news. And if you can't handle scrutiny, maybe you shouldn't have chosen the life you chose." "Chosen?" Harry shot back. "I was born into this. I didn't choose anything. But you chose to be a parasite. You chose to make money off other people's pain." The audience was dead silent now. Everyone watching could feel this spiraling out of control. Piers's producer was probably screaming in his earpiece, but Piers stayed calm. That's what separates the pros from everyone else. "Harry," Piers said, his voice steady but firm, "I invited you here to have a mature discussion. If all you're going to do is throw insults, we're done." "Oh, we're done when I say we're done," Harry snapped. "You think you can just dismiss me? You think you have that power?" Piers couldn't believe what he was hearing. "This is my show, Harry. My show. You're a guest here, and guests show respect." Harry stood up halfway out of his chair. "Respect? You want to talk to me about respect? After everything? You've written about me and my family. After you called my wife a liar on national television?" "I never called anyone a liar," Piers shot back. "I questioned inconsistencies in stories. That's what journalists do. If you can't tell the difference, that's not my problem." "There you go again." Harry was fully standing now, pointing his finger at Piers. "Always twisting things. Always making yourself the victim. You're pathetic, Piers. Truly pathetic. The audience couldn't believe it. Some people looked uncomfortable. Others looked shocked. But everyone was glued to their seats. This was car crash television at its finest. Piers stood up too, matching Harry's energy. Sit down, Harry. You're embarrassing yourself. I'm embarrassing myself? Harry laughed bitterly. Look at you. Look at what you've become. A washed-up host clinging to relevance by attacking people who actually matter. That one stung. You could see it on Piers's face. But he didn't lose his cool. People who actually matter? Is that what you tell yourself? That you matter more than everyone else because of an accident of birth? How dare you? Harry's voice was shaking with rage now. How dare you speak to me like that? I'll speak to you however I want, Piers replied. This isn't a palace. You don't get special treatment here. You're just another guest who can't handle being challenged. Harry's face was purple with anger. You know what your problem is, Piers. You're jealous. You've always been jealous of people like me. People with real influence. Real power. You're just a bitter little man who wishes he was more than he is. Piers smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. Jealous? Of you? Harry, I've earned everything I have. Every single thing. I didn't inherit it. I didn't marry into it. I worked for it. Can you say the same? I've done more for charity and humanitarian causes than you could ever dream of, Harry fired back. With other people's money, Piers countered. With your family's money. With your wife's money. Tell me, Harry, what have you actually built yourself? What have you created that's yours and yours alone? Harry was seething. His hands were balled into fists. You don't know anything about me. About what I've sacrificed. About what I've given up. Sacrificed? Piers let out a short laugh. You live in a mansion. You have millions in the bank. You fly private. You wear designer clothes. Please tell me more about your sacrifices. I'm dying to hear this. You're impossible, Harry said through gritted teeth. Absolutely impossible. This is exactly why nobody respects you anymore. Nobody respects me? Piers tilted his head. I have millions of viewers who tune in every single day. I have a successful career spanning decades. What do you have, Harry? A family that won't talk to you? A country that's moved on? That was the breaking point. Harry completely lost it. That's it. That's it. I'm not sitting here and listening to this garbage anymore. Then leave, Piers said simply. The door's right there. Oh, I'll leave all right, Harry said, his voice shaking. But not before I tell you exactly what I think of you. You're a bully, Piers. A small, insignificant bully who hides behind a microphone and a camera. You tear people down because it makes you feel big. Because deep down, you know you're nothing. Piers just stared at him, unmoved. Are you finished? No, I'm not finished. Harry was practically yelling now. You've made a career out of ruining lives, out of spreading hatred and division. You don't care about the truth. You care about ratings. You care about money. You're everything that's wrong with media today. And you're everything that's wrong with privilege, Piers shot back. You think you can walk in here, insult me, insult my work, and I'm just supposed to sit here and take it because you've got a title in front of your name? Not happening. Harry ripped off his microphone. The sound guy winced as it clattered to the floor. I don't need to listen to this. I don't need to be here. You're absolutely right, Piers agreed. You don't need to be here. So why don't you do us all a favor and leave? Gladly, Harry spat. This show is a joke anyway. You're a joke. This whole thing is beneath me. There it is, Piers said, his voice cutting. There's the real you. It's all beneath you, isn't it? Everyone's beneath you. Well, here's a reality check, Harry. Out here in the real world, you're just another person. And you're not even a particularly impressive one. Harry turned to walk off the set, but he couldn't help himself. He turned back one more time. You're going to regret this, Piers. Mark my words. Piers laughed. Actually laughed. Is that a threat? Are you threatening me on live television? It's not a threat, Harry said coldly. It's a promise. People like you always get what's coming to them. And people like you always think they're untouchable, Piers replied. But here's the thing. You just showed the entire world who you really are. An entitled, spoiled brat who can't handle the slightest bit of criticism. Harry's face contorted with rage. I came here in good faith. I came here to have a conversation. And you attacked me from the moment I sat down. That's not what happened, and everyone watching knows it, Piers said. You came here looking for a fight. You came here to play the victim. And when I didn't play along, you lost it. Simple as that. You're delusional, Harry said. Completely delusional. Am I? Piers looked directly at the camera. Let's let the viewers decide. They saw everything. They heard everything. They can make up their own minds about who's delusional here. Harry pointed at Piers one last time. You're a disgrace to journalism, a complete and utter disgrace. And you're a disgrace to your family, Piers fired back. At least I earned my position. You were just lucky enough to be born. That was it. The final straw. Harry stormed toward the edge of the set. I'm done. I'm absolutely done with this circus. Security, Piers called out calmly. Please escort our guest out of the building. Harry whipped around. You're having me escorted out? You're having me escorted out? You're clearly not in control of yourself, Piers said matter-of-factly. And I'm not going to let you disrupt my show any further. So yes, security will make sure you find your way out safely. 2 security guards appeared from the wings. They didn't touch Harry, but they stood close, making it clear what was about to happen. This is unbelievable, Harry muttered. This is absolutely unbelievable. Believe it, Piers said. You came onto my show, you disrespected me, you insulted me, and now you're being asked to leave. Actions have consequences, Harry, even for princes. Harry looked at the audience, as if expecting them to come to his defense. But they just stared back, stunned into silence. No one was on his side, not after what they'd just witnessed. You people are all the same, Harry said to the crowd. You worship him because he tells you what you want to hear, but he's lying to you. He's always lying. Piers shook his head. Harry, just leave. You're only making this worse for yourself. Worse? Harry laughed bitterly. How could this possibly be worse? You've already dragged my name through the mud. You've already poisoned people against me. I didn't have to do anything, Piers replied. You did all of that yourself in the last 10 minutes. The security guards, gently but firmly, started guiding Harry toward the exit. He shrugged them off, trying to maintain some dignity. Get your hands off me. I can walk myself out. Then walk, Piers said coldly. Harry took a few steps, then stopped. He turned back one final time, and his voice was quiet, but venomous. You think you've won. You think this makes you look good. But everyone watching knows exactly what you are. A cruel, heartless man who gets off on hurting people. Piers didn't even blink. If that's what helps you sleep at night, Harry. But the truth is, you came here expecting special treatment. You expected me to go easy on you because of who you are. And when I didn't, you threw a tantrum. That's all this was. A tantrum from someone who's never been told no. Harry's hands were shaking. You could see he wanted to say more. He wanted to scream. But even he knew he'd gone too far already. So instead, he just shook his head and muttered, "You're pathetic." And with that, he walked off the set. The security guards followed close behind, making sure he actually left the building. The studio was silent, except for the sound of Harry's footsteps echoing as he disappeared from view. Piers stood there for a moment, letting the weight of what just happened sink in. Then he turned to the camera, his expression serious. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Prince, Harry, I invited him here for a conversation. What you just saw was what happens when someone can't handle being treated like everyone else. He sat back down in his chair, composed as ever. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll discuss what just happened with our panel. Stay with us. The cameras cut, but the damage was done. Harry had walked onto that set, thinking he could control the narrative, thinking he could intimidate Piers Morgan into submission. Instead, he'd revealed exactly who he was, an entitled, thin-skinned individual who couldn't handle the heat. Piers had remained calm throughout the entire ordeal. He'd asked fair questions. He'd pushed back against unfair attacks. And when Harry had crossed the line, Piers hadn't backed down. He'd stood his ground. Because that's what real journalists do. They don't bow to pressure. They don't cave to intimidation. They hold the line. The audience was still processing what they'd witnessed. Some were whispering to each other. Others were checking their phones, probably already seeing the clips go viral online. This was the kind of television moment that people would be talking about for years. Backstage, you could hear Harry's voice, still raised, still angry. He was yelling at someone, probably his publicist or manager. How could you let this happen? How could you book me on that show? But it wasn't their fault. It was his. He'd chosen to act that way. He'd chosen to lose control. Piers sat in his chair during the commercial break, sipping water. His producer came over, looking stressed. That was intense. That was necessary, Piers replied calmly. He needed to know he couldn't just walk in here and push me around. Do you think it went too far? The producer asked. Piers shook his head. Not at all. He went too far. I just responded in kind. That's the difference. I didn't start it, but I certainly finished it. The floor director started counting down. Back in 5, 4, 3. Piers straightened his jacket and looked at the camera. Professional, unshaken, ready to continue his show like nothing had happened. Because to him, it was just another day. Just another interview with someone who thought they were above accountability. The lights came back on. Welcome back, Piers said smoothly. If you're just joining us, you missed quite the spectacle. Prince Harry was our guest, and let's just say it didn't go as planned. He pulled up a clip on the monitor behind him, showing Harry's most explosive moments. The audience watched in stunned silence as they relived the confrontation. Now, I want to be clear about something, Piers continued. I have nothing personal against Harry. I invited him here in good faith. I wanted to have a real conversation about the issues he's been talking about publicly. But what you saw was someone who cannot handle being questioned. Someone who cannot handle being treated like anyone else. The panel. Guests nodded in agreement. They'd all witnessed it firsthand. When you're in the public eye, Piers went on, you have to accept that people are going to ask you tough questions. You have to accept that not everyone is going to agree with you. And you certainly have to accept that you don't get special treatment just because of your last name. One of the panel guests, a veteran broadcaster herself, spoke up. Piers, I have to say, I thought you handled that with remarkable restraint. He came at you hard, and you stayed professional. I try, Piers said with a slight smile. Look, I've been doing this for a long time. I've interviewed presidents, prime ministers, celebrities, criminals. I've seen it all. But what struck me about today was the sheer entitlement. The assumption that he could just come in here and dictate how things would go. Another panelist chimed in. Do you think he expected you to just let him say whatever he wanted without pushback? Absolutely, Piers said without hesitation. I think he's surrounded by people who say yes to everything, who never challenge him, who treat him like he's fragile. And when he encountered someone who wouldn't do that, he couldn't cope. The audience applauded. They'd seen it too. They'd watched Harry unravel in real time. But here's what bothers me most, Piers continued, his tone becoming more serious. He came on this show and accused me of being a bully, of being cruel, of tearing people down. But did you see what he did? He attacked my career. He attacked my character. He tried to diminish everything I've worked for. And when I defended myself, he played the victim. The panel agreed, murmuring their support. That's the playbook, Piers said. Attack someone, and when they fight back, claim you're being attacked. It's manipulation, pure and simple. The show continued for another 20 minutes, with Piers and his panel dissecting every moment of the interview. They replayed the clips, they analyzed Harry's body language. They discussed what it meant for his public image. Throughout it all, Piers remained measured and thoughtful. He didn't gloat. He didn't pile on unnecessarily. He simply pointed out the facts of what had happened and let the audience draw their own conclusions. As the show wrapped up, Piers addressed the camera one final time. Today was a reminder that no one is above scrutiny. No one is above being asked difficult questions. And no one gets to walk onto my show and expect a free pass. I don't care who you are or where you come from. If you can't handle honest journalism, then maybe television isn't for you. He paused, letting that sink in. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. The cameras cut. The show was over, and Piers Morgan had just solidified his reputation as the one broadcaster who truly wouldn't bow to anyone. Not to pressure, not to privilege, not to princes. Harry had walked onto that set thinking he'd get the upper hand. Instead, he'd shown the entire world that beneath the title and the privilege was someone who couldn't handle the most basic level of accountability. Someone who thought his status meant he deserved different treatment. But Piers had taught him a valuable lesson that day. In his studio, everyone gets treated the same. Everyone faces the same tough questions. Everyone is held to the same